Welcome into episode 106 of JD's Empire Sports Talk. JD solo here tonight. I'm just gonna, talk about the WBC little preview. So this is gonna go out right for you guys. You have an hour to watch. It won't be an hour, more like 20 minutes. I just wanted to come on quickly talk about WBC Final tonight. USA versus Venezuela. The Jets, what the Jets have done. 'Cause I haven't talked too much about the Jets in terms of the offseason moves they've made. And then the Knicks. We'll do a little check in on the Knicks. Haven't did a stream since last week. Or the week before that, I should say. And now don't know exactly when we're going to do the next one. I have a few in mind, but it should be a few weeks down the road just because the way the scheduling is, it's not the best right now in terms of when we can actually do one. But we're here tonight. I put a little extended how you doing, which is pretty much what it is. I just wanted to make sure to get in there and just get these things out because I know tomorrow night when me and Biggie are doing episode 107, we're going to do a lot of March Madness and some other things. MLB opening day. Obviously, we have next week as well. But the rundown, I just wanted to put the rundown out there. Episode 106, which you guys will see live in a little bit. Well, when you're watching, obviously, you'll see it live. We got episode 107 tomorrow with Biggie. And then next week, Monday, I believe, me and CT are going to do an MLB, opening day preview. The Yankees and Giants play Wednesday, so we're not going to do it Wednesday. Tuesday is obviously the normal show with me and Biggie. So Monday's the only day that works. So we'll make that, Monday we'll put it out. Thursday also, March Madness brackets from myself, Jet Specialist Ryan, Biggie, CT, and Corey will be out, Thursday morning. So 10 a.m., 9:30, 10, around that, it'll be out. So you guys, any last minute, if your brackets aren't already done. I like to wait to the last second on the brackets just because, I haven't did my total research on it yet, which I'll get to tomorrow because I do want to do it. But there's a lot that goes into it that needs to be looked at. So we'll get to that, when the time comes. But let's first start with the WBC preview because this is why you guys are watching. WBC is tonight, the final at 8 o'clock, USA versus Venezuela. Both teams suffered losses already, but they found a way to get to the championship, and now they are back into the championship round as USA. Venezuela fell just short last time. Close. It was close. I know they played USA. They had a lead on them late, and they lost it in the last WBC on the same field they're going to be on tonight. Some familiar faces as well, so this should be a good one. But going to the USA, they beat Brazil, they beat Great Britain on their way to being 2-0. They beat Mexico to get to 3-0. Then the debacle last week of not knowing certain things, clinching scenarios and all that. They lost to Italy, and they get into the playoffs just because Italy helped them out and won an extra in that last game. Then US beats Canada 5-3 on Friday. They beat the DR on Sunday night 2-1, and they're in the championship. Venezuela had a really good start. They went 3-0, then lost to the DR, then obviously got into the playoffs with that 3-1 record. They played Japan on Friday or Thursday, one of those days. They beat Japan, which was a shocker. That was one of the biggest shockers up there with USA losing to Italy, of the whole tournament. Was Venezuela. Yeah, they're a good team, but Japan obviously won the last time. They always are in it. They're always doing well, and have a great team because they have the mix of guys that are in the MLB and guys that aren't there yet, that are in the KBO and all that. They have a lot. They have a lot of good talent there, and they lost to Venezuela. Venezuela beats them. Then Venezuela wins last night as well. They beat Italy. Italy was obviously one of the shockers of the tournament. They weren't expected to do much, and they got to the semifinals, and then Venezuela beat them by a few runs. So Venezuela, just the overview. I don't know if everyone is too familiar with them, but from watching them, really good lineup. Of course, Acuna, the Contreras brothers, Salvatore Perez, Jackson Churio, to name a few, Michael Garcia. So they have talent, and it's for them to make a lineup is very difficult. They leave some good talented guys out of that lineup, every game because they can't fit everyone in there, which is what I'm trying to say. There's a few guys that aren't really in it. Like last night, Perez didn't play, which is crazy, but he didn't. There's a few different scenarios for Venezuela in which, the lineup they can go with. And then with their pitching tonight, they have Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound, reliable lefty. He's been on a bunch of MLB teams before. It's definitely seen a lot of these guys. I know Alex Bregman has like almost 30 at-bats against him, and he's in the lineup tonight. A ton of at-bats against him. And, Rodriguez has seen other guys. Has really good success against Aaron Judge. So he's seen these guys, and they've seen him. So it's not like they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like they don't know who they're facing. They're facing someone that they're very, very familiar with, I don't know how long Rodriguez is going to go. Venezuela only got an inning in the third out of their starter last night, so I would expect Rodriguez to pitch a little deeper just because he's obviously conditioned for that and he's more ready to do so, unlike Montero, who was their starter last night. But Venezuela's got a really good bullpen. Machado, Palencia at the back end. I don't know if they're going to pitch tonight just because they did pitch, last night. And it's not like we're in the middle of July or in August right now. We're only in mid-March, and these guys have thrown high-stress innings, which, you look at it, which I'm a huge fan of WBC. If you guys seen, I literally dedicated a show 10 days ago at this point to about 10 days ago. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I should say. My apologies. I dedicated a show to WBC, which shows my take on it. I love the WBC. It's a country thing. It's pride, pride in your country, and getting ready. It doesn't matter who's in it. You're still getting pretty much the best of the best from every country that they can put out there. And it's good competition. It's great. It's a little break from spring training because spring training gets boring after a while. Like, to be honest with you, I haven't watched any spring training now since this has been going on. And now after this, we have a week until opening day. So it's the perfect thing. And not only that, like I said, it's just a pride thing. And like the countries, they really, they care. They really care about this thing. And that's what makes it special. It's not like, oh, we'll just go through the motions. I know Team USA at moments has looked like they just didn't really, too interested in it, which I understand that people have been saying that, which I semi-agree with. But, the other countries, like, they're going for it. They really want to win this thing. And I don't blame them for not trying to win this thing. It's a pride thing, and that's what they should be doing. But yeah, I think tonight, overall, going back to tonight, I think tonight's going to be a really good game. USA, I think, wins, though. I know me, Ryan, Jet Specialist Ryan, and CT all picked USA to win. We predicted it before the WBC BC started. We didn't have them playing Japan, but we did have Venezuela getting into the playoffs and actually losing to Japan. So, we got most of it right. Italy, getting a little further than we thought. We actually didn't have Italy in the playoff at all. I said Italy would be a dark horse, if you guys remember when I did do that stream. So it wasn't like I was totally out on them. I just thought that Mexico had more, talent up and down, more depth on that team to beat them, and they unfortunately did not. But just for this game, McLean is going to start. Nolan McLean, he didn't have a good start last time, but for anyone that knows baseball, like deep down knows baseball, they saw how good he was last year, and I expect him to bounce back tonight. And the bullpen, for the most part, I think besides Bednar, everyone else is available. I know Whitlock and Mason Miller have been the 8-9 combo. They've been throwing for a decent amount of innings so far. I think Miller has pitched 4 times, I believe, and Whitlock has pitched 2 or 3. I think it was 3 times now. Yeah, he pitched once. He pitched the last game he pitched against Italy. He pitched against Canada, and he pitched against the DR. So both of those guys, Miller and Whitlock, would be their 3rd appearance in 5 days. But they said they're ready to go tonight, and they got the green light from their organizations. Don't think Bednar is going to throw, like I was just saying, just because he's pitched, he's pitched the same amount as these guys, but he's also thrown like 20-plus pitches in every inning. And, he's the Yankees closer at the end of the day, which that's the fine line you got to walk. Yeah, these guys really want to do it, but they also don't want to get burnt out before the season starts, which I do, understand that. But maybe we'll see a surprise Bednar today. Maybe if he can't get through an entire inning, he can get hot and come in for someone that's in trouble for an out or something like that. We can perhaps see that at some point. But it's going to be very, very action-packed. Tune in tonight at 8. I encourage it because it's going to be a really good game. It's the last WBC game for 3 years. So we have nothing, we don't have, we'll have another game soon. No, we had 3 years. We have to wait. So you never even know who's going to be on these teams at that point. Then let's go to the Jets. We'll do the Jets off-season moves so far. So I wrote down a little bit of something on every single guy. We'll start with the edge rushers. They did sign Joseph Asai and Kingsley Unigabare. Both rotational edge rushers. I nailed that name. Let's go. Both rotational edge rushers. So, you look at the premier NFL teams, like the teams that you look at, organizations you look at, and you're like, okay, we want to be like them. And, you look at the best of the best on defense, and usually those defense have a rotation at pass rush because it's very difficult to just leave 2 guys out there. Yeah, there's only a few guys that can literally play every single, like a Micah Parsons, a Max Crosby, that can just stay out there every snap and still have the same motor to get to the quarterback. That's not really like that, and the Jets don't have a type of player like that. Yeah, they have Will McDonald. He's a decent player who has his flaws, but he's not an every down, every single play of every game type of player. At his best, he's not. And obviously, we've seen that last year when they put him out there every play, it didn't work. But when he was in more of a rotational, atmosphere, he played well, and he played really well. So I think that's what the Jets are trying to get back to. So Asai and Uganabare are gonna, provide edge rush help. Asai had 5 sacks last year. I think Inabare was around the same thing. So if they can all contribute a little bit, 5 sacks from one guy, five sacks from the other, that's 10 sacks right there. Will McDonald is going to be tasked with trying to get double-digit sacks. He should be able to do that, and I think he will be just because he's in more of a limited role. So he'll be, juices flowing every single snap he's out there. I'm not worried about that, and I'm sure they're going to draft one, with that first pick of the draft. I don't know which one it will be: Ruben Bain, David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles. One of those guys. One of those guys will be a Jet. I believe that. Maybe if it's not at 2, they trade down a little bit. They still will get one of those guys if they're in the top 5, top 6. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for them. I think that's exactly what they need with the first pick. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, but I would prefer, Reese as the guy. I think he's just more polished at everything. He can do both as well. And Glenn seems like he's looking for versatility from these guys. And Reese can rush the passer. He can play linebacker. He can cover. He can do everything. He can communicate, which is big. And I think that's what the Jets are looking for here. So I like what they did at the edge rush position. Then Demario Davis. So this is third go around with the Jets. I think he's going to be exactly what C.J. Mosley was when he was here with New York, especially those last 2 years when he was really on the field and playing. The beginning was a little rough for C.J. Mosley, but he battled back. And the last 2 years were really good from him in terms of leadership and play. He was not bad. And the last 3 years, I should say, because he played 2 good years. And then the last year he was banged up, but he was there as a leader. And I think Davis can still play, obviously, but that leadership is something they didn't have last year. Sherwood and Quincy Williams didn't seem like they were ready for that leadership, especially Sherwood because he was the guy calling the plays, the signal caller on defense. Didn't seem like he was ready for that. I think Demario Davis taking that over and letting Sherwood just run wild and make plays is going to be big for this team. Then David Onyemata. I know they added Sweat from Tennessee as a run stopper. They have Juwan Briggs. They have Harrison Phillips. And now Onyemata is going to be another guy, a run defender as well. So they got a good little nose tackle room there as well. Guys that can be versatile, which I was saying with Sweat and Briggs can be versatile on there. Harrison Phillips and Onyemata more traditional nose tackles. Sweat is a traditional nose tackle, but can also play different techniques and stuff like that, more in-depth football things. But Onyemata, and is a leader. Onyemata has always been a leader, whatever team he's been on. And then Dane Belton, safety from the Giants, very young guy, so he's still got, plenty of years ahead. I think the Jets' goal here was to bring in, guys that can play. Minkah Fitzpatrick, the next guy I wanted to talk about, he's going to be another leader, but he also is going to play multiple positions. He can play the nickel. He can play traditional safety. He can do a lot. Dane Belton's going to be a part of the plan there. If Minkah's playing, nickel, Belton's going to be out there. So I think he's going to be out there similar to what Isaiah Oliver's role was last year, but it just didn't seem like Oliver was too comfortable with that role. I think Belton's going to be just fine playing safety, obviously, but being out there and being a chess piece. And then, Malachi Moore signed Andre Cisco back. So they have 4 safeties that can play football. I know as a Jets fan, we probably look at that and we're like, we haven't had a safety that can actually function for us since Jamal Adams at this point. It's been a merry-go-round of different safeties, and it just hasn't worked. And these guys can play. Minkah is going to be obviously the lead dog. Malachi Moore played well in his time last year, but I think he's going to have to actually win the job instead of it being handed to him. Like I said, Dane Belton, a really good tackler, which is another thing the Jets struggled with last year. But he's going to be fine. He's going to play. I'm telling you, he's going to play. Cisco maybe at the end of that rotation there, but I think that everyone will be used. Then we got Nashawn Wright. I was very shocked by this one. Only a $6 million deal for a year for a guy that literally was in the top 3, top 5 of interceptions last year. He might have been number 1 if I'm mistaken. He's going to start, obviously, besides Stevens. He's going to be the guy. And he's a ball hawk, which obviously the Jets seem like they had a plan here. Minkah Fitzpatrick can go get the football. Nashawn Wright can go get the football. Dane Belton can go get the football. It looks like they're trying to get that interception in week 1 because obviously you went through the whole season without one. And it seems like Glenn had a plan there to go and get, that type of player. And then another defensive guy, Mikal Walker, a linebacker who was with the Jets last year, just trying to bring back, some depth. But before I make the switch over to special teams and offense, I think the point made here, obviously I'm not a fan of Glenn. He hasn't shown me anything. But I think what we can, all agree on is he got his players now. We can all agree on that. He got the type of players he's looking for. So there's no excuse if he doesn't have a good defense. He's calling the plays, and he has his type of players, and we'll add probably to that in the draft. So, there's no excuse here. Oh, we don't have the right personnel, which I said was a big problem last year before the year started. I didn't think the defense was going to be great because they got players playing in a scheme that doesn't work. Too small and too fast. I say too fast because they were too aggressive. And Glenn likes to be aggressive but calculated from what I've seen from Detroit. I'm not defending him here, but those players were definitely not the scheme fits, I should say, for Glenn. Now he has no excuse. He has the edge rushers he's looking for, looking to add on to that, has the safeties he's looking for, has the linebacker leader he's looking for, has what he needs there. In terms of what he thinks he needs. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what to expect from this defense. I like some of the moves they made. I'm okay with the other ones they made. I'm not going to jump up and down and say they had a great offseason, but the defensive moves needed to be made, and they went out there and they addressed them. I'm just saying that Glenn, if you like, this has to be him fixing this defense because he's calling the plays. Like I said, he's calling them, and he has his players now. There's no excuse. Let's go to special teams where they're bringing Cade York. Probably a kicker competition if I expect. I wouldn't hand the job to him. He hasn't been that, he hasn't been that great so far in his career, but he's all right. And then Kenye Nwaganu is back as a returner, so him and Isaiah Williams will man the return room, which I don't understand why they should have tried to bring or offer maybe Nick Folk a more lucrative contract because he was really good last year, and that was the one unit I said keep it together. Nick Folk, Austin McNamara, Nwaganu, Williams. Once Isaiah Williams was cut, he came back. He was great. So those guys I wouldn't really mess around with. They were really good. We'll see what happens with the kicker situation. Hopefully it's not what it was 2 years ago when they were literally switching a kicker every week. We can't afford for that to happen. But Nwaganu really liked that move with him being back. I know he's an injury-prone guy, but I like it. Then Max Mitchell, depth on the offense. Andrew Beck back as the fullback. So it looks like the Jets will look to have the fullback a little bit more featured in the offense. So they had Beck here. He played well in the preseason, just didn't play in the regular season. And then Geno Smith is the new quarterback of the Jets, will be the starter. I don't care who else they bring in. Geno Smith will be the starter just because, it's just the way it goes. They did trade Justin Fields, so they basically got not the same year, obviously, just the next year, but they did get that 6th-round pick. Picks are pretty much washed. The cap space pretty much washed because they took on a little bit of Geno Smith, but they also gave away a little bit of Justin Fields. That give or take with the salary cap. So it's going to kind of be a wash there. I'm not excited about Geno Smith. I mean, I was just annoyed because why him? Why does it have to be him? I know there's a lot of mid quarterbacks out there. I would have taken probably any other mid quarterback but him because he's already been here. I just don't like the attitude that he has. He was terrible last year as well, which I know the market, people are going to come at me with that. The market wasn't good. I don't know what you're expecting. I just didn't want him is the point I'm trying to make. The market was obviously not good. I understand that. A lot of mid quarterbacks out there, Kyler Murray seemed like it wasn't an option, which I understand that. But then after that, a lot of mid out there. Kirk Cousins mid, he hasn't signed yet. Tua mid. There's a few mid guys is what I'm trying to say. I just didn't want Geno Smith here, which it is what it is. They're going to be they need a backup quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with that, and they're probably going to draft one at some point in this draft. But next year, I would expect them to really, go in there and try to get a quarterback, which frustrates me just because why does it always have to be next year? We've seen all these turnarounds with these teams because they actually go all in and they're aggressive in what they're trying to do. And this year, we got Geno Smith for the year. We'll see what he does for us, and we'll move on. That's what frustrates me. Frustrates me a little bit more with the Jets just because the moves they make in specific players. Like I know I'm not gonna get passionate too much more passionate about it just because it is what it is. The Jets are just stupid, but I wish it was a little different there. And then they still need wide receiver help. I think they obviously do. They did have John Mechie as their 3, and he's gone now, so they literally have Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, who's going to be good, but I wouldn't count on him as a number 2. And Isaiah Williams are the only receivers on the roster for the most part. So they're going to add 2. I think they're going to swing a trade at some point for a vet, like not a vet, but like a receiver, like an actual number 2 receiver that can be really good for Garrett Wilson to help him out. And I think they're going to draft one high in the draft, either 1st round or 2nd round. I think they're going to do that as well, or they'll just do one. But I think something's going to happen Depends how much they believe in AD Mitchell. If they believe he's good, then they only get that one significant player. If not, then they'll do two. And then backup quarterback, like I just said, a little more O-line help. I think we need a little bit more. I forgot to mention the guy they signed from the Raiders. They got an offensive lineman guard from the Raiders, exactly what they needed. I thought they would bring AVT back, but they guessed that ship has sailed with that. I don't know if he wanted to be back anyway. He went to New England. And then I think they, like I said, more pass rush. I think the number 2 pick, if it's 2, 4, 5, 6, they're going to stay in that range, and they're going to take a pass rusher anyway. And then to close the show out here with the Knicks, 44-25 on a 3-game winning streak. Have the Pacers tonight. Unsure if Brunson's playing. I think he's going to be out. He's doubtful, so usually means that guy's out. We got the Pacers tonight, Nets, Wizards, and Pelicans coming up in the next week. That should be 4 more wins. This team should be 48-25 as they're going to Charlotte next Thursday, in my opinion. That should be a 7-game winning streak. And if they win tonight, they're a game from Boston, which we have to hope we can hopefully jump them at some point and get that number 2 seed, because that's huge. And maybe Detroit does lose some games. I doubt that, but having that number 2 over the Celtics, because you're probably going to play each other anyway in the second round, is a crucial thing. Have that game 7, potential game 7 at home, which is a huge, huge thing. But that's going to do it for episode 106. I really want to thank you guys for supporting the show. I don't know if anyone saw the TikTok live that I did the other night, but if you did, we're going to do a little bit more of those. I like how it went. Some interaction was fun. But yeah, just tune in tomorrow night, episode 107 with Biggie, starting at 7:30. We're going to do, there's a lot that's going to have to be talked about, and we will do it. But thanks for tuning in for the little extended how you doing. And yeah, that's going to do it.